Hey guys, welcome back. So guys, we are continuing our PHP OOPS tutorial. So now guys, in this video, we'll be learning about how to edit and update the data using object-oriented programming in PHP. So guys, now let's get started. So let's move to our student view.php, and at this button, let's create a parameter with the name ID and send that particular ID guys. Okay, so let's get back. And here is our student view, and this is the table guys where we have fetched the data, and this is our edit button. So inside this edit button we have to start to create one student edit.php file where I will pass the parameter with the name ID. Okay, and then we have to send the ID. So what ID you're going to send? You're going to send the student ID, so which we have over here, we have already printed. So let's copy and paste over here. Done. And now guys, let's copy this and create one file. So let's create one student edit.php file. Let's get back, refresh, and now I'm going to click on id number 2. Let's click. Perfect. So you're getting that student edit.php with the id parameter id and your value, that is 2. So same with if you click on id1, your id1 will be reflected. So now guys, let's go to student edit.php and create a form, something like your add student. So I just want the same form to be integrated in our edit student page. So guys, let's go to the student add.php and copy the full form. So let's move student add.php. Let's copy all the code and paste inside our student edit. So now let's go top, and here you find basic your design headers and footers, and then this is your authentication for admin. So now guys, let's move below, and here you find your form. Okay, so now let me just change this heading, student edit, and let's get back. Let's go to view student and edit the student too, and here is your student edit form. So now guys, with this help of id, you are going to get your data from your database. Okay, so this is your database table students. Let's get back. So first step guys, we are going to start with here. Let's open PHP and close PHP. In this, let's begin with if condition and check with the isSet function. As simple dollar underscore get method where you are going to check the ID. So if the ID is present, this get method means you are going to call your parameter value. Okay, so this ID you are going to call that and check. If it is there means then you'll come in, else you're going to tell that echo in a h4 tag, let's tell something went wrong. Okay, so this condition comes when id is not there. Done. When id is there, you are going to get your data. So let's create one variable called student id is equal to your method where id, and store here. And with this help of id, you're going to take and pass this in our student controller and create an object and call the data. So now guys, let's begin with that. So where I am going to create one variable called student, and this will be assigned as an object with the student controller. And now if you're using student controller, make sure you have including that. So let's include that student controller over here first. So include once function where you're going to call that inside your controllers we have created already. Okay, so let's go to controllers folder where we'll move to student controller.php file. So now it's included. And now guys, to fetch the data we will get with the id, so we have to create a function inside your student controller. So let's assign it first over here in a variable called result. So this is my result and your object, that is your student, and go to edit function. Okay, and inside this edit function we will pass the id. So make sure you are passing with your valid input. That means if someone tries to inject the sql, so at that time your validate input function will help you to come out of the injection. So let's paste here, and this validate input is already included in your app.php. Let me just show you that. So inside config, inside app.php, over here we can see validate input, right? So this file is included in your input edit. Okay, and just pass here and then pass your database connection and then your ID. So now guys, let's take this student ID and you have to send here. Okay, so now guys, let's move to our student controller and create a edit function. So let's go to our student controller and create a simple edit function where public function with the name edit function. And now guys, you need to pass your student ID over here. Okay, so that is $ID you can directly get, and then let's write the query over here. So student query is equal to where you're going to write the command, select all the fields from that is start from students table, where ID is equal to inside single quotes you're going to pass the ID, and we are fetching only one ID, so let's give the limit 1, and here your $ID comes. Okay, so you can re-verify. So let's tell student ID is equal to, let's validate that input. So validate input $this of connection, your database, and then your $ID. And this validate input is already included in your edit where we are calling the student. Okay, so here our app.php and your student, so it's both are called, so do not worry about the validate input calling. And now guys, let's pass the student ID in your variable called ID. Done. And now let's execute this student query. So let's create one variable called $result is equal to $this of your database connection, and execute the query where we'll tell $student query. Okay, done. And now let's check if record exists or not, at least one over here where we'll mention $result, where number of rows must be greater than 0, or we do not want to check it is greater than exactly one record I want. So just we can give double equal to 1, and let's create a variable data and just get that data from it. So $result of your function and return $data. Okay, so here is one error. Done. And now let's give an else condition over here. If something goes wrong, just return false. So if there is no data, you're going to return false. And now guys, we are going to see this return data. If record is there, you will see back to your edit.php. Okay, so where you're calling this edit function, and inside this, if it is true, so which we have, the data is there. Okay, so inside this data you will check. Else what you're going to do, let's echo that in h5 tag or h4 tag, like no record found with that ID. Okay, so whatever result, if with that ID data is not there, you're going to tell no record found. If the record is there, then what you're going to show, let's divide this. So open PHP and close PHP, and inside this you're going to paste your form. So let me just minimize this form, and here we go. Let's cut this full if condition, I mean, yep, and paste below the form. That's it guys. So this is a simple step over here. Done. And now this is our form, and inside this form we are going to get the data. So what data you are going to get, so let's tell open PHP is equal to close PHP, and here $result of your table column name. So that table column name is full name over here, and this thing we have to paste in a value attribute. So your input tag value attribute, which should be displayed over here. That's it, guys. And now let's see the output for this. Let's get back to Google Chrome, refresh. Perfect. So we are getting that value over here. So now guys, let's get back and place for all the fields. Let me just minimize this, and yep, let's copy, paste here, and let's call the database column field name. So my table field name is full name, email, phone, and course. So let's get that email, course, and final is phone, guys. So now let's save and change this button name to update student, and let's name the button also with update student, and which will go to code.php. So now before submitting it, let's refresh and check the output. Perfect. So we are getting correct output, and now let's get back. Let's edit it 1 and let's move it to done, guys. So now let's work on the updating part. Okay, so let's copy this button. When I click this, it goes to student code.php with the method post by taking all the input fields. So let's move to student codes.php. So inside codes folder, let's go to student code and create a if condition. So let's begin here. If your is set function, where inside this I want to check with the $_post method if this button is clicked. Okay, so you are getting all the input field values. So let us get that input field value. So let me just copy from here, which we have made for the saving. Okay, so this is my input field value name, guys, over here, and exactly same as whatever we have in edit name attribute column. Okay, so make sure you are having the same code over here and getting the data from here and posting here. All done, and this is our input data done. And now guys, let's call our model. So dollar student, create an object with the new student controller colon, and let's move it object of update function. Done. And let's create one result variable to check that what is true or false. So inside this update function, let's move our input data first. So this is your input data, give comma and push your the ID also. So let's push our student ID, or just ID also we can call it. Okay, so this ID from where are you getting? So let me just pass it over here. ID is equal to where we want to validate. So let's validate this, copy and paste. So over here, let's tell student underscore ID, and this student underscore ID will create it our edit PHP. Okay, student edit. So below the form tag, I want to create one input field with hidden and give a name with the name student underscore ID. Done. And value will be $result of the ID. So whatever we have fetched the ID. Okay. So for testing purpose, let us see the output, guys, once. Let's get back, refresh. Here you get ID number 2, exactly same as above. Okay, if you move with ID 1, it will show you the ID 1. So let's get back and let's make this as hidden right now. So don't required, not required. Let's get back. And now let's copy the student ID and go to a student code and paste here. So we have taken our the ID and your input data and going to update function. So let's go to a student controller and create one update function, guys. So let's copy this and go to our student controller and begin with public function, where I want to create a student update function with the input data and your ID. So now guys, let's write the query over here. So first you can validate as we have validated over here. Let's take this and paste here. So this is your ID with the database connection and validated, and we have got the output. And now guys, let's write the query over here. So student query. So let's make this a student update query is equal to where double quotes. So let's type the query update where table name. So my table name is, as you can see, it is students. So let's copy the table name from here and get back, paste student name where set the column fields. So what column fields? Full name, email, phone, and course. Okay, so these are the 4 fields which we have to set. So let's type full name is equal to inside single quotes and then give comma and then your next column. So inside this single quote we have to get our input data. So now guys, let's create that full name is equal to where your dollar input data of what we have created in that full name. Okay, so I'll just show you this full name from where it is coming. As you go in your student code.php, we have given this input full name, email, phone, and course. So these fields only we are going to call that over here. Okay, so same you have to call it like email, course, and phone. Okay, done. So let's paste here also course, email. Now let's paste that over here, full name. Then next move with your email column is equal to inside single quotes dollar email, comma. Then next as our course. So let's take the course. Inside this course, I want this dollar course. Let me just minimize this. Phone, phone column, dollar phone. And now give a condition where, let me just break this to down so it will be easy to see. Let me zoom it. Where ID is equal to inside single quotes, let's give what ID you're going to give, this student ID. So let's copy this and paste here, student ID, and this is a single data we are going to update. So let's give a limit 1. And now let's update this query guys. So let me just create a variable called dollar result and then this dot your database connection, and let's call the query function to execute the above query, that is your student update query. Done. So I mean this variable we have to execute it. After this you're going to check if it is true, means the query has run successfully, return true, else return false. That's it guys. So let's save this, and now you can, with this true or false condition in a returned value, you can check in your student code. So over here let's check this in a if condition. If your dollar result is true, so in if condition obviously it checks true or false itself, so you can give a if else condition over here. If the updated query is true, then you can redirect them back. So let me just copy from below. So student updated successfully, and I want to go back to student view page. Okay, so let's move on the view page at the student view.php page. So yep, let me just paste that. Done. So this is the message guys, and this is your page. Let's copy and paste over here, and if we have any error also, let's tell something went wrong. All set. So now guys, let us test this and check the output. Okay, let's get back. So from Om Prakash to, I'm going to make this as Ved Prakash data. Let's Ved Prakash, and let's change this email ID from om at gmail.com to ved@gmail.com. Update student updated successfully, and you can see guys over here Ved Prakash data has come. Perfect. So let's edit and make it back to Om Prakash. So Om Prakash, where Om Prakash at gmail.com. So let me just update the phone number and update student. Done guys. So student updated successfully, and you can see that we have successfully updated the data in object oriented programming in PHP. So guys, in this video that's it, and let's continue next video with creating of the delete item, and further we will see on view also. So guys, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe, like and share.